A lot of discussion in our earlier snow removal videos about the rocks that I was pushing off the driveway. Not only discussion that I was having in the video itself, but a lot of your replies in the comments had a lot of good advice on that. Today we're going to try to use the loader to pull some of this rock back into the driveway while the snow is still on. More about that in a second. Let's get started. This is not the perfect day for this activity, but it's about as close as I'm going to be able to get. We're going out of town. Of course, by the time you see this, we'll already be back. That's the miracle of video, right? But we're going out of town, and we need to make sure that this rock is back in the driveway. Well, I could wait till late spring, right, when it warms up, and I could use a broom or all the other ideas that you guys suggested. But it seems like it'd be best. You can already see that the snow is melted off the top. It seems like it'd be best if I could scoop in under there to some of that snow that's underneath and either that or back drag it back. Just get it off of there while the snow is still keeping it up out of the turf. So that's what we're going to do today. And the reason it's not perfect is because it's still cold, right? It has warmed up. It's been up as high as 50, I think, since the snow, but now it's got cold again. We've actually got another inch of snow added on. So it's not perfect. I would rather do this on one of those 45-degree days right as the snow's melting. Yeah, that's going to happen 2 or 3 days from now, according to the weather forecast, and we won't be here. So this is my only opportunity. One of the interesting parts of snow removal and dealing with snow is that you have to do it on its schedule rather than yours. But sometimes we can't. Oh well. Yep, still snow under there. So that's all good. See, we'll get that pile back with no problem. This is about all I can pull at any one time right here. So rather than going all the way forward, I just go part way here and get some of this pile down. Now, if you could do this at the perfect time, it would be a pretty easy job. I think I'm doing it a little bit. Well, it's too cold, but in another way, I think I'm doing it a little bit too early. I'd like to have a little more of the snow melted. Yep, I still see a few rocks out here. I'm getting them though. This is a lot easier than trying to do it with a rake in the spring. Amazon delivery guy comes along today. He's going to say, "What in the world? Who's putting snow back on their driveway?" You guys teased me in the last 2 or 3 episodes about not having 3-point ballast on. Well, I'm doing it again today, and this is really the first time I felt like I needed it. I think a little more traction in my rear wheels would help. I still have trouble getting comfortable with the pedal, guys. I'm trying. A lot of people think I'm just demonstrating bias when I talk about the pedal. Well, I don't mean to be. Machines have operated differently from each other, brand to brand, for as long as I can remember. That's just part of it. I don't really have anything opposed to that. I just have trouble getting used to this style pedal. It's just not comfortable for my leg. Yeah, there are lots of rocks in here. This is where the loose rock was. I had just pushed it up against the road before the snow came, a month or so, and so it was loose up here, and my blade just picked it up. And so that's what we got here, is just a lot of that loose rock. This would have been a pain to have got out in the spring. 52 hours on this machine so far, and by far my biggest complaint is when I press on the pedal, you'll hear it start to whine, and then it jerks. Did you feel it there? And sometimes that jerk is there, it went again. And I didn't push any harder. It just decides to jerk, and I just find it very difficult. Now, out here pushing snow, it's not that big of a deal. But when you're trying to back up to an attachment and get everything perfect, or you only want to move an inch, oh, there's problem number 2. My second biggest gripe just happened. I'll get to that in a second. But it just jerks on you, and it makes you feel like you've never driven a tractor before. That's my biggest complaint, at least from an operations standpoint. I don't know how many more rock I've got out there. You can see a lot of rocks in the snow there, and it would be big piles by the time all this snow melts. Still some more out there. The engine on this tractor runs smooth as silk. It's kind of nice to have a 4-cylinder engine. All the rest of our machines are 3-cylinder. This is the only 4-cylinder engine we've got. Even Johnny 5 has a 3-cylinder engine. We're over at neighbor Chris's house now. Chris uses a big V-plow on his truck to take care of his driveway. Yeah, that's right, I have driveway envy. But when he took the plow through this time, he got off to the side just a little bit. So he's thrown some sod right off the edge of the driveway here into his yard. Well, he's on vacation now. So I figure what better time for me to come over and mess up his yard. I probably got a bucket full, don't I? I got the edge tamers on, and I think I can just scoot right along here, and I'm going to take whatever snow I get and the sod that I get and pile it up here back right behind his driveway, and we can sort through it in the spring. We think that'll be a lot easier, and I did talk to him about this. We think that'll be a lot easier than trying to come through with a shovel or even with a loader bucket after the snow's out of there to deal with this. These edge tamers continue to amaze me. This view here shows how they skid right along even on this grass. I would not have attempted this without them, quite frankly. Too much risk of tearing up some really nice turf. But with the edge tamers in place, you can even tip the bucket just a little bit downward and still have no worry of destroying the turf. I'm really not sure how much there is. I mean, it looks like there's a whole bunch of sod here, but once I start pushing it, it almost looks like it's just kind of the tops of the grass with not really as much sod in it as you might think. Not much more on this side anyway. I need to put a little air in my tire, it looks like. Yep, you think I forgot that second complaint. No, I haven't. It happens all too frequently. Watch the steering wheel here as I turn. Yep, the latch that holds the steering wheel down just releases on its own. Happened probably 20 times on this short project. I asked the technician at my local Kubota dealer if it could be adjusted, and he shrugged and said no, that's just how they are. I guess I should take some time and look into it myself, see if I can figure it out. It just hasn't quite made it to the top of the priority list. Well, I think that's about got it. This sod really didn't amount as much as what it looked like. It looked pretty bad just laying on top of the snow, but I think for the most part it's not very thick. The dirt part's not very thick. It's kind of just the grass off the top. But anyway, hopefully Chris will like the looks of it when he comes back. If not, I may not have a neighbor anymore. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I think it's warming up a little bit, Christy.
I think so.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. Hey, thanks to those of you that came out to the National Farm Machinery Show to meet us. Had a great time and a huge crowd. Some of you drove a long ways just to visit with us, and that means a lot. Thank you.